All right. Hello, everybody. Welcome to our first workshop for Sunday, the 21st. We have Lucy. She is part of the core team, and she will be doing this workshop on tips and tricks on web development. Let me introduce Lucy real quick. So Lucy is a senior and she's also an aspiring computer scientist. She's a self-taught programmer and focuses on machine learning as well as computer vision. But she's also a junior web developer and chief director of IT at XdHacks Mini. Besides coding and studying, Lucy spends her quarantine times on the deep depths of YouTube and Reddit, so don't we all, and occasionally waters her succulents. So anyway, with that, I turn the mic over to Lucy. I will stop my video so the participants can focus on you. And there you go.
Right. Hi guys. So I'm Lucy, and thank you for the introduction, Nikhil. Yeah. So quickly before we start this workshop on like a few tips and tricks, just make sure you head over to the announcements channel and download the list of things that is required for this workshop, because we'll be using those for some live demo or hands-on hands-on learning later. So okay, a quick introduction. Well, I'm Lucy, senior student aspiring computer scientist, all about that. And then um, a quick self-disclaimer or a little disclaimer. I am a self-taught programmer, so these tips and tricks have worked for me in the past, and I hope they'll help you as well, hopefully. And however, they might not like work for everyone, but it's worth giving like everything a shot, especially if you're trying to start out and just trying to look for a direction to start. So a quick um, a quick outline on the workshop. I'll be talking a bit about my personal experience, so where I came from, what paths I took in my coding journey, and I'll be defining a bit of like progress in coding and being a self-taught coder. And then I'll start introducing some basic languages that you can get started for, like the very beginners who want to get started on coding, and then a few resources to where you can start. And then we'll be going through a more hands-on component of setting up your computer. And this includes like how to use your terminal and then using GitHub Desktop, which is a very important tool for any coder. And then we'll be doing a fun little deconstructing our website, so the XdHacks Mini website, and then a final Q&A session. But if you guys have any questions throughout the workshop, please do not hesitate to ask, because I'm sure that there will be quite a few questions, and um, I'm always willing to answer those whenever. So please do, please do ask questions. Okay, so a bit about my background in coding. So I first took the Khan Academy courses for JavaScript and HTML and CSS. So I kind of like started here because it was fun, and then they had a course called game design, and I was kind of into gaming, so I wanted to create my own games. So that's where I started. And then I took some Java in my school for programming 11, and then so I learned like Java syntax and then some stuff about object-oriented programming, which is a thing you have to know for like AP Comp Sci if you guys are interested in taking that. And then I took web development outside of school. So I learned like Python, jQuery, React, Node, Flask, and a bunch of other stuff. And it's just like all a jumble. And that's kind of where I got started with web development as well. And then a lot of it was just the teacher giving us projects and then for us to go out there and learn, like scroll through. There's this website called Stack Overflow. It's where you like look at all your bugs, and that's where you like pretty much learn. You just scroll through all of the different errors that you encounter and then learn from there. And then I took deep learning.ai. So I was introduced to like machine learning, deep neural networks, and then computer vision, all of that kind of stuff. And then lastly, last summer, I took like Harvard CS50's web programming course, which I do highly recommend because first of all, it's free. And then they do teach you Django, and they do a pretty like full on coverage of web programming, and you could build like a pretty good web application by the end of it. So now let's talk a bit about like the stages of coding. So these are kind of like terms I define myself. So beginner is like you're learning some basic syntax, like how to do print functions, add functions, all of that kind of stuff. And you're like choosing your main language, which we'll talk about later. So I I'm pretty sure that most of the audience here are either like beginners or amateurs, and amateurs are like where you can solve simple programming problems in your main language, and you're trying to build programs that can accomplish a given task. So a lot of people do practice programming by solving problems like this. So that's kind of where the stage of an amateur would be. And then intermediate programmer, this would be like you know how to solve programming problems, you know like most of the programming functions in your main language, and then you know at least like one specific field beyond like basic programming, whether that's like I don't know, web development, neural networks, cybersecurity, anything like that. And then you can probably teach beginners how to program in the main language. And then you have a junior programmer, which is like your adept at least one specific field, and you can teach amateurs coding in that one specific field. Maybe you know a few more languages, and maybe you know a few more other fields that you can go into. And then middle, this one, I just defined it as you can find probably like jobs in any specific field. And then finally, the senior is like you're a professional in the industry. So that's kind of like where I see coding being in stages, just these 6 stages as you're learning. And hopefully, we'll be advancing through those. Okay. And one really big way to learn coding is projects. I cannot stress like how important this is because uh, courses can only do so much for you, but it's really the hands-on learning part that you learn the most from. So for you, building projects would be like a learning process, but for other people as well, such as like recruiters, they see like what you know, what you've done in your project. So it's kind of really like uh, a win-win situation. You learn stuff and you get to add it to your portfolio. And granted that many projects are like open source, which means that the public has access to their codes. It means that like you'll never be coding strictly from memory, and having like project codes that you can refer to is like a pillar of your programming journey. So really building a strong foundation on the projects that you build is really important. So if you're thinking of like starting programming and you know like a bit about what you want to do, I definitely recommend like starting with a project. Um, Next, we have languages. So as you can see, there are quite a few languages here. Well, actually a lot. And a really good way to for any beginners choosing a first language is to just get started on that language and learning the syntax. Like that's kind of like you're trying to write an essay, but you gotta know how to write in English first. You gotta know your alphabet first. So a few languages I recommend are definitely JavaScript because it's kind of an all-in-one language. It's definitely like one of the biggest mobile applications or web applications language because they have so many like libraries built upon it. And then you can also, as I mentioned before, do game development. And JavaScript is also a really good one for programming competitions. Another one I recommend is Python here. And I would recommend Python 3 because it's the most up-to-date one. And then this is used in some things like Flask and Django, which are like web development backend stuff. And hopefully you guys learned a bit about backend yesterday in the workshop. Python's also a really big one for machine learning, blockchain automation, also a good one for programming competitions, and then data analysis and visualization. A few others, well, these two are like the most common beginner types, but a few others that I would recommend are like Java. That one's a big one, especially if you want to take or you're going for something like AP Comp Sci, because Java is like the main object-oriented programming one. And then also C++. This one is the most efficient one, but it is a bit harder to learn. So yeah, heads up for that one. And then C is a big one for sorry, did my screen just flash? C is a big one for um it's kind of similar to C++, but it's less used. It's like a older one. And yeah, personally I recommend like Python more than JavaScript because Python is very nicely packaged. There are lots of like libraries and resources that you can do with it, and it's just a very nice one to work with. And then some good resources that I'll link later is like to to start learning these languages are like tutorial websites like Lighthouse Labs, or you can really search up anything online. I think Python programming is also a good one. Another one is doing like programming problems, which you can start off with by doing code wars, which is a free one. Or if you want to go into like the industry later, it might be good to invest in like a lead code account, which just gives you interview questions to practice. And lastly, of course, as we talked about earlier, projects is a big one. Projects. Okay. Yeah, so these are the languages that I recommend starting with. Okay, now is where to start. So first of all, we want to talk a bit about like setting up your computer later. So for MacBooks, when I say setting up your computer, I mean like learning how to use your terminal, because it does become really important as you explore the programming world later. And for MacBook, we use like the shell, which is a ZSH shell. Well, it used to be Bash. They're really similar though, so it'll be really easy. For Windows, it's a command line. And I know that a lot of people also install Bash so that they could use like different things, but command line works perfectly fine. And you really do need to know how to use these. And we'll be talking a bit about like the basic commands later. Another big thing is GitHub. And this is like a place where you could share your code. I'm sure most of you have heard of it. And because you rarely ever code like projects by yourself, there's a lot of collaboration that goes on. And it's like who works on what part of the project and how we keep them up to date and everything. Because in case you make an error that bugs out the entire project, then you want to be able to backtrack to before that error and then fix it from there. So GitHub becomes really important, and then we will be going over how to like fork things. We'll be going over like collaborating, and then a bit about open source code, and then a few other things for when you start hackathons. They're always a good way to learn, especially because they have like workshops, mentors, and just another chance or opportunity for you to work on projects. Again, very important. And then, so keep an eye out for, XdHacks Mini hackathons or any other hackathons out there. They're a really great opportunity to learn. And then again, workshops. They're a really good way to like get you introduced to different things that are out there. And then another thing is mentors. So if you don't want to enroll in like a class, say outside of school or in school, you could try making your own projects. And know that could be really hard, but sometimes reaching out to like university students or some other like mentors for guidance is a really important thing. And finding these mentors, they can just like give you some helpful tips and tricks when you're stuck on this one bug for like the past 10 hours or something. And if you reach out to enough people, there will be at least one who is willing to help you. So I would say reaching out to mentors is a big one. And some people also reach out to like professors or research teams to see if you can like learn alongside them and just help them with the smaller tasks if you have enough experience. So that's also like a really good learning experience and a good resume builder. And then lastly, competitions. So like it's always a really fun way to grind interview questions with friends and prepare for more competitions. And again, I mentioned LeetCode and Code Wars Kata earlier, and I'll be linking those later in the presentation as well. And I know a big competition is Canadian Computing Competition, or known as the CCC. It's every year in February. So if you guys want to start preparing for that now for next year, they do have like the junior and senior ones. So if you go on to University of Waterloo's website, you'll be able to find more resources for those. That one's a good way to get started on coding as well. So now let's talk a bit about like the terminal. Or for the terminal for MacBook, I recommend using iTerm, which is it's like a different one. It's it has a lot more like functionalities than your classic terminal. Oops, not there. So well, it doesn't have this stuff because you separated, but compared to like your classic terminal, it does do like a bit more. It just does a bit more for you in case you want to expand your coding journey later. So this is your classic terminal, and then this would be your iTerm. And as you can see, both of them use ZHC. I'll close terminal because I'll be using iTerm. And then for Windows, it's just command because well, disclaimer, I don't really know too much about Windows, so but the commands should be the same. So I want like everybody to open up either iTerm if you downloaded it, or Terminal if you haven't downloaded iTerm, and then Command on your Windows if you're on Windows. And we'll just be going over a few basic commands there. So let me know if you guys have opened it, and then we can start. Just like drop something off in the comments, I guess. Oh, not that. Okay, I don't actually know if I can see the comments here. Chat, there we go. So when you open it up, it could be something like this, as long as it has like your name here and then the timestamp and then the name of your computer, I guess. Okay, so we'll just give a few minutes for everyone to pull up their terminal so we could kind of explore different ways of navigating through it. All right, I see that one person is ready. Let's just give like probably around 2 more minutes for other people if they're ready to go. If you're having trouble finding it, you can always look in Finder or Launchpad, or you could type in like command space on MacBook, and then you could just search for whatever terminal you're using. Okay, we have another ready in the chat, and yeah, okay. Let's wait for like probably one more person to be ready. And then we'll go on to like learning more about the commands. Okay, all right, let's get started then. So the first thing I want you guys to do is this command down here. So it's a list command. If you type ls into your terminal and then press enter, it'll list like all the different directories and files that are currently under like your base directory. So your base directory in your Finder would look something, okay, it will look something like this. So everything in here on your laptop. So it would be like just your Macintosh HD under users and then your username. So everything down here, well, without the dots in front, and everything here, it will be shown right here, your command. That's weird. Are you on a Windows? Okay, Windows. That's interesting. Are you on command line? That's weird. It should work. Okay. Okay, I think the equivalent for Windows is dir. So if you type dir into your Windows, it should be the same. ls is typically for like MacBook, I believe, Mac or Linux. Yeah. Okay, nice. So dir for Windows. dir for Windows. Okay, that's not gonna work. Edit that later. Okay. And then, so I want you to choose one of these files now, or one of the folders that you know is a folder. And then in the command line, a folder is called a directory. So if we want to change directory, we put cd, and then we could put like any one of these. So if I say like development, then now I can see that I'm now in the development directory. So this one right here tells you like which folder you're in. And it's always helpful to know that where you are because it'll affect like what you're running. So now if you type ls again, you'll see all the different files underneath this folder, the development folder. So it's different than the one before. Yeah. If I'm going too fast at any point, please let me know. And then if you wanted to keep going, you could say like cd and choose another folder. I'll choose calendar. And then ls. And then I'll have all the folders or all the files and folders in calendar again. So now, dot dot means you go back a directory. So if I want to go from, as you can see, I'm in calendar, like /development/calendar. So if I want to go from calendar back to development, all I have to do is cd dot dot. And then this will take me back to development, as you can see here. So this is a really good way to navigate through your folder because some of the files and things are hidden in your Finder, and it's really good to just get like an entire whole view of it here in case you're looking for like a missing assignment or something, let's say. So if you go ls again, you can see I'm back in the development folder. And you can combine these in case you're saying like I'm going into calendar and then I'm going into the models. And then, so yeah, these are like some files I wrote. And then if you can see we're in /development/calendar/models. If we want to go back to like here, there are two ways that we can do it. The first one, okay, not that. The first one is we can change directory 3 times back. So dot dot slash dot dot slash dot dot. That'll take us back to this one. Or what we can do is we can use a shortcut command, which is this slash right here. So The slash is usually at like the top left of your keyboard, and what you do, well, it's not really a slash. What you do is you just do change directory slash, and then slash squiggle. I don't know what the proper term for it is called, and then it'll take you back to your home base directory. So you guys could have like fun playing around with that, and it's a really good way to navigate through your terminal. And then let me just go back to development. And then another cool function here is like open. So this doesn't really work for a file directory, but it does work for a file. So if you want to open a file, so let's say I want to open icon.png. I can just type open icon.png. And then what it'll do is open this in like whatever app you may want to open it in. And then if I say like open, let's say there's also a Discord one.png, it'll open that right up here. So that's a cool one to use in case you want to just quickly open something to check what it is. And these don't only go for PNGs. You can also open like, for example, Python files, JavaScript files. They'll probably just open it in your default IDE if you set one up. So for me, that would kind of be like Visual Studio Code. And then next, another good command is in case you want to create a file and you don't want to like say open open an entire new like application you created. You just want to create like an empty file. So this is a command called touch. So you could touch like, let's say hello.py. .py is just a Python file. So now if you look at this, I now have hello.py, and of course, if I run it using Python 3, it does nothing because there's nothing inside it. And yeah, so what touch does is just creates an empty file, and it's really helpful in case you want to edit directly from your terminal. And you could further install stuff later, such as Vim, which is a terminal editor, and then you could just edit directly in here. So as you can see, hello.py has nothing. Okay, that's annoying. Okay, so we'll quit that. All right, let's open the new terminal that just bugged out. Okay, so let's go back to development now. So we know that we have like hello.py now, which is an empty file. So that's how you create a new file. And a few other commands. If you want to create a new directory, it's mkdir. So what this stands for is make directory. And then I could say like, I'll call it new folder. And then if I list everything here, you can see that there is a new folder right here. So if I go into new folder, again, change directory, go to new folder. Now you can see that it's completely empty. So when I list it, there's nothing here. So that was the folder that we just created. So now let's go back. And then the next command I want to go through is remove. So when you want to delete a file, you just simply remove. And then this only works for a file though. So if I say hello.py, now it has been wiped from existence. I mean, it's probably still in your trash bin, you could go look for it, but that's how you remove a file. And if you want to remove a directory, then it gets a little more complicated because you can't remove like say a non-empty directory. So if I have like calendar, which has stuff in it, then it says directory not empty. So you can't really, you have to go into calendar and remove everything from there. Or you could do like a force command, but those become like risky, so I won't be going over those. So we can remove an empty directory, such as new folder, because we didn't really need it. And then no error message pops up. And if we list it again, calendar is still here, but new folder is nowhere to be seen. So that's how you remove a new folder if you want. Now, another one that's really important is MV. And this is essentially a move function, but it can also be like a rename function. So let's just say like touch hello.py. Oops. Okay, I mean that works too, I guess. Hello.pu. We move, if we want to like say rename that file, we could just type mv, and the first command or the first input that it'll take is your file that you want to rename. So let's say hello.pu, and then we want to rename it into whatever else it is. So hello.py. So now if I list it, it has successfully changed the name. Now, if I want to move hello.py into calendar, or let's make a new directory. Let's say hello. So we now have hello as a directory and then hello.py as a file. So we want to move hello.py, the file, into this directory. We do mv hello.py. And then instead of putting another hello.py here, since we don't want to change its name, we simply do hello as a folder, and then we do slash, because that creates it into the directory. So if we type that in now, you can see that hello.py is not in this folder, but if you change directory into hello and list everything, there's hello.py. So this is a really good command in case you want to use like move things around or rename things. And it's a good one to know. So always the first thing to have is what you want to change. And then the second parameter is what you want to change it into. And then lastly, a really good one to know is Python 3, is how do you run a Python file. So when you guys want to run a Python file, that's pretty much all you have to do, just type in Python 3. So let's go to hello again. Hello. And then we have hello.py here. So I'm gonna open up Sublime really quickly. This is just a really quick code editor. And then I'm gonna do like a really basic function. So don't worry if you don't know what this does. But it basically just prints out like a function or a line. So now if I run this file, python3 hello.py, it'll print out whatever I had earlier. So you could put like a lot more complicated stuff in this one file if you wanted, but that's basically how you run it. And yeah, that's kind of like a basic introduction to how to use a terminal. And there are like many, many more commands in here, especially if you want to like download a bunch of libraries or work on some backend things, then the terminal becomes really important for just setting up your computer so you can do all of that kind of stuff. So yeah, there are many like videos out there that will give you like a more detailed exploration through this, but these are some of the basic commands that I would say every programmer should be able to know and should know how to like navigate through their terminal. So yeah. So the next thing we want to do is GitHub. So prior to this workshop, you guys should have signed up for like your own GitHub account, and we'll be learning how to like commit code, push code, and like collaborate. So this is what my GitHub looks like, and I'll just be making a new repo. You can make one here using like the create new repo. This is GitHub Desktop, by the way. So it's a really handy tool to have downloaded if you don't want to navigate through all of this stuff. And I know that GitHub gets like really complicated to set up as well, especially on Windows. So if you want to like set up like a Git bash, then follow a YouTube tutorial step by step, because that will take a bit of time. So you could create a new repo here, or you can go to the GitHub browser. So just github.com/whatever your username is, click this plus sign right here, and then create new repo. So I'm gonna call it like hello, and then I'll make it public, creating new repo. And then you see, this is what it says, like do add it to a command line. So all you really have to do is this, and then paste it all in here. And then what it'll do is it'll write a new file for you. So as you can see, development/hello. And then Yeah, so I'll give a bit of time for everyone to do that. Or you don't even have to create a new repo. It's very self-explanatory. For Windows though, just use GitHub Desktop and then go to like your current repo or something and like create a new repo. That's the easiest way to create it on a Windows. And you can also do it on Mac if you want. So after you do that, then you click refresh, and then you'll see like, okay, I have this nice little page here with, a README and nothing much to it. So now what I'll have everyone do is clone this repo. So if you visit like this link, you'll be able to clone it. So I'll paste this into the Zoom chat. And then how you clone this code basically is you want to go here, and then the first option is clone repo. So this becomes really important when you want to like share projects. So if you click that, then you could go to github.com, and then I'll just type lucy/hello. Well, this is kind of my repo, so I can't really clone it, but you can also paste the URL that I just had right here. And then what it'll do is clone. Oh, yeah. I can definitely go over how to create a repo again. So I did do one on here, so I guess I'll do one on the GitHub desktop this time. So if you go to GitHub desktop and then you click current repo, or you might not even have a current repo, but that's okay. In that case, you can always just say create a new repo. Respiratory. Repository, not respiratory. So you click that, you could have your name, let's call it hello2. You could just ignore the description and everything. And then I like to have a development folder just for all of this kind of stuff. Then click that, and then it's here. And if I go onto like my account now, okay, I don't see hello2 yet. Oh, sorry, I have to publish the repo first. So once you like add your name and description if you want, you push this one and then publish to github.com. Wait for this to finish spinning. Okay, now if I refresh this page, we now have a new repo. So most repos start off as like private repos, so make sure you have that configured if you want your code to be like private or public / open source. And yeah, let me know if that works for you in the chat. That is how you create a repo. Okay, nice. All right, so now let's go back to like forking a repo. So where is hello? Add existing repo. So if I go here, I could import this repo. This is just my repo that I had here. So if you guys go to here, you could say add and then clone repo. And then what it'll prompt you to do is add a URL. So just type in the URL that I had before, and then you'll be able to like fork that repo. So what forking or cloning does is that it copies its own kind of copy onto your own local computer. So what I do from here on with this repo is my stuff, but whatever you do with it is your stuff. So it's kind of like you just create a copy of whatever I have at this instance, and then you'll keep working on it by yourself. So that's how cloning a thing works. And it's really good for like open source code, because a lot of the projects that you see online, they'll allow you to like kind of quote unquote borrow their code, because a lot of stuff is repetitive and you could kind of just, do that. So if I go to like github.com and then I search, let's say like, I don't know, CCC answers. And then, okay, maybe not. Go to GitHub. Yeah, so there's like a lot of stuff here. Just if I click on any like random one of these and then I go to download code, the URL, then all you really need is the URL and then click clone. And then I'll have an exact copy of whatever they had there on my local laptop right here. So like all of this kind of stuff, which I have no idea what that does, but that's fine. And yeah, so you can see like all of the history that they changed. And then I can show this in Finder as well. And then it'll show me like all of the files that they have right here. So it's a really cool way, but whatever I do on my local laptop now doesn't affect anything that has been done on their laptop. Oh, that's pretty cool. And then, yeah, so anything that I do here doesn't affect them. And then this is now just completely a copy that I have for myself. So that's pretty much what forking does. And then if I go here, I could probably find it somewhere here. Somewhere here. Anyways, yeah, so that's what forking does. So after you guys have forked, this hello, I want you guys to, okay, I have to commit this first because I have a new file. And then basically what I want to do is I commit it, and then it says you have one push. So now I want you guys to like make a change to the hello. So I would say find this in your terminal. You could do like show in Finder and then see which folder it's in. So it will either usually be in like your GitHub folder, or if you specify which folder it's in, then it would be in somewhere else. And then once you get there, I just want you to make a change. So anything like, as you can see down here, I go touch like a new file, let's say hi.py. So now you can see that my green circle changed it to an X mark, which means I'm not up to date. So what I have to do now is, if I go here, you see there's changes. I now have hi.py, one changed file. So what I want to do is create a summary. Well, its default summary is create hi.py description. This is good if you're like working on stuff with other people. But now what you want to do is commit this code. So you're saying all the changes I have are good. They won't like bug anything out, hopefully. And I'm finished with this section. So you commit to it exactly as it sounds. And now you have to push 2 commits to your GitHub. So if I go here right now, there's still not like a hi.py or hello.py. It's because I haven't pushed it yet. So once you commit, it still is local. It's like a folder that you store onto your local laptop. You haven't pushed it online yet. So after you do that, you can either click like here, or you could click here. And you just have to do push. And then now what that does is it finishes your changes, moves it to history. And if you refresh this page now, oh, I have all the files here. So that's how you kind of do the pushing stuff. And another good way to do it is to open Visual Studio Code. Okay, we'll use that later. So you can see like hello.py, hi.py here. So Visual Studio Code is good because it can allow you to create a new folder like this button or a new file like this button. You can edit it very easily here. And if you move your mouse like right between the blue line and the black line and pull this up, it's actually a terminal for itself. So it'll show you like wherever it is, and then you could just type it here. So Visual Studio Code is really like an all-in-one IDE for you to use. So once you guys have like pushed it to your own directory, you can name it anything else, but you'll see that it might not be the same as whatever I have here. And again, forking your code does not mean that it's like up to date with here. It's just simply like I go my way and then you go your way from there. So it's like you're copying this repo onto your own computer. So that's what happens when you fork repos. Now, in case we want to collaborate together, so let's see, let's go to hello2, and then we'll change this into a public repo. So manage access. Have to invite collaborator. Right, so if you guys could type like your GitHub usernames or emails in the chat, so then I could add you as a collaborator, then we can see how we could collaborate on codes together. Right, so be sure to type in your GitHub username or email so then I can add you as a collaborator. And then what will happen is that you guys will be able to see an email pop up, and it'll say you have been invited to collaborate on here. All you have to do is confirm that, and then you'll be able to collaborate on the code. Invite collaborator. Okay, we have one more question. So while you guys are confirming that, for everyone who's pending an invite, I'll answer this one. So when I try to clone my repo, it says the folder contains files. How do I get past this? That's interesting. It should work even if it contains files. All right. Okay, so the folder contains files. That's interesting. Should work. Are you cloning it using GitHub Desktop? Like add and then clone repo? Yes. All right. And you're doing the URL, correct? It's the URL for the repo. So if you go to like github.com and or here, let's use the URL I sent you guys earlier. So github.com/luluc/hello. It's just this URL. It's the same URL as you copy from here. This one. And then you paste it into your GitHub desktop. Oh, this folder. Okay, I see what you mean now. Okay, so what this means is when you choose your local path, you have to choose one that doesn't already have like whatever name it has in there. So if you go for like example development, not /hello, remove that. Okay. So yeah, all right. So what this says is that it's basically like this development folder. So if you go like /hello again, then the error goes away because this is basically a new folder that you create. So if you want to go to like, for example, clone into your downloads, then I'm sure your downloads has files, so you cannot actually clone into there. But if you create a new folder called like hello in your downloads, then you can clone it. Okay, does that work? Yep. All right, nice. Right, so I think that's just a specific thing to GitHub Desktop. Usually it'll just let you clone to like whatever folder. Okay. So now, hopefully everybody hasn't added to hello too. Let's go to manage access, pending invite. So oddcoder 72 and I'm gonna bomb this name, Shoria1. We're pending the invites, but for everyone else, you guys have been added as a collaborator. And now, what you want to do is, if you haven't already, locate where that folder is on your desktop or GitHub desktop, like so. You could just press like here and then add existing repo, and then wherever you cloned it to earlier, you can find it and then open it here. Okay, let's just see if the last two collaborators have. Okay, we're just pending on one more person. Okay, while you do that, we'll be working on this. All right, let me introduce some other features of GitHub Desktop meanwhile then. So this one, change repos, I think it's kind of self-explanatory. You can see that the files you've changed, so I haven't changed anything yet. The history of changes, so 17 minutes ago, I added whatever that is. That's just like creating that repo. And then over here, you could, open a VS Code, which do press that because that's kind of important. We'll be using that. And it'll pop up as something like this. And then make sure, well, actually you don't really need to have terminal open, but it's kind of fun. And then this one, so there's a thing in GitHub called branches. And basically what it does is it allows you to make one version of the code and then another person to make another version of the code. And then what you can do is like, okay, I'm going to take this project, experiment with it on my own branch. And then once I'm finished with that, I'll merge it back to the main branch. So here, explain. So what this basically means is you take like the master code, you add like whatever you want to here, and if it works out, then you then add it back to the master branch. So the master branch is always like, as it says, the master copy, or they changed it into the main copy just recently. And then another person could be also adding like another branch, and then they'll be like, okay, this one also works, I'll put it back. So it'll just be a way to collaborate in the future. So you could switch between like branches now. So branches like that. And then to merge a branch back to like the main branch, you have to create a pull request. But those are kind of like more complex features of GitHub. And then fetch origin. So this is always a button that you should press before you like work on anything, because it'll allow you to get the most up-to-date code onto your own laptop. So if like, for example, I made a change to our repo and then you are working on something, then you want to have like the most up-to-date things, as long as it doesn't conflict with your own files. So always press this button before you start. And yeah, so hopefully now everyone has Hello 2 opened up in their Visual Studio codes. So we can start like seeing how we can collaborate. Okay, nice, everyone is here. And let me know if you're having troubles in the Zoom chat. So the first thing I want you to do is go over here, and then we're going to all create a new file, but we're not going to call it the same name or else there'll be very big problems. So just put like your favorite, let's say animal, and then name it like .txt, .png, or whatever. So I'm just going to say zebra.txt. And then what I'm going to do is, well, I could leave it as an empty file. I could say like zebras are cool, something like that. And then whatever you guys add will be up here in your place, and it'll be green because it'll be a new file. And then what I want to do from here is I want to make it so that everyone can see zebra.txt. So how I do that is if I go back to my GitHub desktop, you can see that I made a change. Now how I want to update this change is, again, they already created a title for me or summary and then a description. And then all I have to do is press commit to main. However, just by pressing commit to main doesn't do anything. As you can see, I can't really see anything yet. So if I then press push to origin, let's wait for that to do it. Now I successfully pushed it so that everyone can see it on our main branch. So you can see that there's now zebra.txt. So now I need to just fetch this again, just in case. And what I want everyone to do is push their own like file. You could call it any file you want, as long as it's not like, repetitive. If it is, then that would be kind of problematic. But yeah, I'll just be waiting for you guys to push your own things so I could see what your favorite animals are. Just onto Hello 2. So now let's press refresh. Okay, we have cheetah.txt. And if you click into that, speedy, nice. So as you can see, you can click into files quite easily on GitHub here. But if it's like a really big file, then it might take a while. That rhymed. And then you can see like all the past things that happened. So this is all the commits that happened 29 seconds ago. So I go here now and press like refresh. Okay, maybe I have to open it again. Let's open Visual Studio Codes. Oh, right. I was wondering why it didn't reflect onto mine. So as you can see, I can see cheetah.txt on my browser. Oh, and monkey. Nice. See what monkey says. I like monkeys. Nice. So now we can see all of these reflected on the browser version, but I still don't have it on my own desktop yet. So now we go back to, yeah, I can explain how to commit. Let's just explain this one first. So now I have to go back to my GitHub desktop, and then I press fetch origin because, last fetched 2 minutes ago. But a lot of stuff happened in 2 minutes. So we're going to press fetch origin. Hang on. Oh, look, there's a lot of things that happen. So I have to pull. So once I fetch, it'll tell me like what happened, and then I'll just have to press pull, and then I'll get all the updated changes. So now it automatically updates everything, and I have it all on my Visual Studio Codes. So now let's do another random animal. I like dolphins. Dolphins.py, because why not? So this is a Python file. And then I'll just say like print yay. Okay, so now I successfully created a file here. And then how you commit this is you go back to your GitHub desktop, and then you see that there are like changes that you made on your local computer. And then how you want to commit it is you can say like, this is a summary that they generate for you, but you can also say like, I like dolphins. Usually what you want to make summaries like descriptive. And if it's too long, then add some more descriptions in the description. And then I can say like, this prints yay. And then to commit it, I just have to press commit. But that doesn't like change it here. I don't see dolphins.py over here. So what I want to do is I want to press this one that says push origin. You can also press this button up here, and then it'll just say push origin. And what this does is that it'll push it to, well, the origin. And then that's basically how you commit and then push a code or code. And now it says like fetch just now, but I also just pushed it now. So if I refresh on my browser, I'll see that I have dolphins.py, and then it'll say like, I like dolphins. That's the summary that I had. So now if I fetch again, well, since it's my own change, I don't really need to fetch it, but I now have dolphins. And then if you guys fetch the code now, if you press this button and then look back onto your Visual Studio codes, you'll be able to see like that dolphins.py exists there. So those are some cool attributes that GitHub has. And then another cool thing that you can see is that if you guys want to run this file, dolphins.py, the first thing you can do is take a long time to navigate to it through your terminal. Say like, I know I have this folder in my development, it's hello2, and then I have one called dolphins.py. I have to type this, all of this stuff just to run this one file. That's complicated. So a good way to do it here, just to test out like the things since you have it already, the first one is that you could run it right down here in your terminal. So if you write Python 3 and then you run the file, right? The file name, and tab to complete, it'll run the file. And then another thing is you could go up here, run, and then you could just say like start debugging or run without debugging. What this will do is basically the same thing. And then it'll run yay. But it also does have like a lot of different functions because VS Code is a really good one for debugging. You can like stop everything there. Anyways, so that's basically how you contribute to code. And just a really quick heads up though, if you want to like say that I'm working on dolphins.py and you also want to work on dolphins.py, then errors might arise. And then that's why I generally say like try working on different files at the same time, or else there'll be like a lot of different things you have to resolve later on. Because you can see like with line numbers and everything, how it could get complicated, since GitHub does run on like a line-to-line basis. I'll say like changes are made to line number 2 or something. And yeah, that's basically how you collaborate on a repo. So again, collaborating and forking are different. Forking just means you take this online copy and copy it onto yourself, but you can't actually make anything to like the repo itself. For you to be a collaborator, you have to go to like manage access and then get invited or invite people as a collaborator. So a few more things about GitHub that you should probably know is, well, this is your own page. You could turn on darker light mode, that's just fun. And then you can also have like organizations. So what this basically does is like, for example, XdHacks Mini has our own organization, but it's like a private one, so you can't really see it. And then you can also have like different organizations, like I named like called unnamed project. So that was kind of just fun. So if you want to like if you want to work on like a really big project with your friends, organizations are helpful because it's not under like your own GitHub name. It could be under like the organization's name. So managing access or other administrative things becomes easier because it's not just like one person that has to be, doing all the admin stuff. So that's another cool thing of GitHub. And then, yeah, if you guys have any questions about GitHub, now would be the time to ask. I'll just give like 2 or 3 minutes for some questions to roll in. And if not, then we'll just go on to the next part of this workshop. Fetch origin, no changes. Okay. All right, last call for questions. Going once. Going twice. All right. Okay, then let's go on to the next part of this workshop. So I'll just close all of the GitHub stuff like so. Oops, not that. So next is deconstructing our website. So this one is kind of a fun section. So XdHacks Mini website. Very nice. XdHacks Mini. So what I want you guys to do is open this up for yourself in the browser so you can see like what I'm doing. So just type in this URL, or you can search up XdHacks Mini and it should be the first one that pops up. And then this would be our website. And once you have that open, I want you to go to the 3 dots at the top, go to More Tools, and then open Developer Tools. So you can see like what the page is actually rendering. So again, that's going to the 3 dots, scrolling down to More Tools, and then Developer Tools. And then just click on that. And then you'll be able to find like a web browser version of like all the code. Okay, so just give me a heads up in the chat when you guys have that open, and then I'll be showing you guys around some of the cool features that we built. that you might be able to use for like your own projects for the following week. So yeah, let me know in the chat when you have developer tools open. Okay, let's get started then. All right, first, a cool feature that I wanted to show you guys is this typing text thing. So you might think that it's like really hard to make, but it's actually not that hard if you look at it. So how I did this was that I literally went online and searched up like text type or like typing text animation for website. And then how I got it to work was, well, if you see here, I just copy and pasted this from online. So what this does is that it creates like a new script. So hopefully you guys learned about tags yesterday in the first workshop. And then this script tag allows you to type JavaScript code in an HTML file, which is what I have open here, index.html. And then I created a new class called like typed words, .typed words. And then this types high school, global high school hackathons, has type speed, bat speed, all of that kind of stuff. And then if you paste this in here, and then you go to the other typed words, which is all the way up here on line 34. So if we go to line 34, okay, maybe not that. The things are a bit different here. So you can see like I have typed words here. Typed words. Now if I go up here, this one corresponds to these typed words right here. And this is just the source code. But if you go to the elements right here, and then you search up, not really search up, you go down to page, it'll highlight whatever I'm selecting. So this entire page is a div block. This header section, let's go here, header content, header text. So you can see that what this does is that it's generating it as you are looking at the screen. So this elements will just show you like everything that's here. But the source code itself is just typed words with nothing in it. And then the JavaScript code down here will allow you to type in like whatever strings you have. So these are just some of the cool things that you could search up. Like if you do like typed words animation, then there are quite a few that you can go towards if you want to like if you want to implement it into your own website. So that's some of the few little tips and tricks that you have. And another thing right here, this is a GIF file. That's GIF, not GIF. And then what this does is like it's basically the same as linking any of your PNGs or JPEGs. It's just the same as image and then source. And then since a GIF file takes up like quite a bit of storage, I linked it to like online hosting thing. So most of you guys probably won't come into this type of problem, but in case your website gets like really big, so big that whatever you host it on will like not allow you to host like any more stuff, then what you can do is go to, like, for example, I use like Cloudinary, and then you could just upload your file there, and then what the website will do is it'll see, oh, there's a link here. Well, I can't actually find a link. Yeah, they'll say, okay, the source is a link, so I'm gonna go to this link, and then what this link outputs is this. So it'll take that and then render it back onto your website. So when you guys have storage problems, this is a really good way to just quickly fix that for any of your larger files. And then I want to talk a bit more about like the structure of the website itself. So as you can see, there are quite a few things here. How I built this is I used Django, which is a Python-based web app development for backend. And then I configured everything here, but most of this is just like following the Django tutorial stuff. And then all of these files up here are like individual apps I built within the Django file. So it just nicely organizes them into folders. So if you see main, that's like what you have here. If I open up main, this is just for configuring your laptop. This is for databases, so we don't have to worry about those. The main things are probably statics and templates. So you guys learned about like HTML files last time. So, or not last time, last day. And then these are all like the different HTML files I have here. So index is what you see being rendered here. Now, if we go to about, that will literally be like what about is rendering. So like you can see what is XD that corresponds to like this section right here, and then all of this kind of stuff. So yeah, this is kind of how you structure it. So you have about page, and then you can have like contact, you can have events, and this is all like how the website is built. Events, same stuff, all the different colors being added. And then, so that's just for the main page. Now, you can also say like LA has their own pages as well, right? So you can say like index. If you go to LA, actually let's not go to LA, let's go to Vancouver. So Vancouver, they have like their own static pages. Not static. Pages are in templates. So if you go like right here, then these are all the different things that are on the Vancouver pages. So if you see about event FAQ sponsors, about event FAQ sponsors, and then there's like the little about us blurb right here, like XdHacks Mini, and then like ambassadors, all of that kind of stuff. So yeah, that's how like our website is structured. So it's by all the different cities or a different app, and then you have within it templates that you can render per app. So these are where you store your HTML pages. But if you look at the this, it's not simply an HTML page. Actually, I would argue that most of it is probably CSS. So if we go back to index, well, I didn't link it here. I linked it in here. But you can see that like I also add a lot of CSS style sheets in here. So where I store these are in the static folder. So this becomes like the CSS folder, and then I have all of these different things. So I have like normalize.css, webflow, which is what I used to generate like a lot of the CSS, and then all of this kind of stuff. So yeah, that's in case like you want to link all of your different things together. So you could generate CSS, or I actually do recommend typing the CSS if you have time, just because it'll help you reduce a lot of errors in the future. And then like JS. So this is actually like a library online that you could use. I'm like, I used it for like 2 or 3 features on the website. I can't remember which ones, but this is just like one example where you could take like a long online library and just literally link the source, and then you'll be able to access all of them. And then yeah, so that's how I link like the CSS and JS together, and then it's just like all into different folders. and then each one has like its different CSS, JS, all of that kind of stuff. So that's like how our website was basically built. And then another thing that I wanted to talk about was like some sections like this one. So this one, if I go into like, I just search for it here, connect, because this big part is connect. Okay, maybe I can't find it. All right, maybe it's not in here after all. Well, it should be in here. Anyways, so basically how I built this part was, yeah, actually no, I do need to find the code for this. It's under here, start hacking. Here we go, connecting with youth globally. And then you can see like all of this like gritty stuff, right? So all you really need to do is create like a grid layout. And then you just say like, okay, this entire Vancouver blob here is going to be its own link tag, which is A, which hopefully you guys learned yesterday. And then within that, we're going to have like an image right here. And then we're also going to put like Vancouver in the next A tag right here. So it's just like, it's a block, another block, 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 and just a bunch of blocks. And then, so all of these A tags are basically blocks. And then your city is like an extra, like a 2x1 block, I guess. And then, however, most of this is actually like CSS, which is a bit complicated. If you look at this, there are all different types of grids and everything. But basically, as you guys saw yesterday, it's how you organize things into like different containers. So the biggest container right here is like this entire section. Within that, you have like the top part, which is like connecting youth, this first big container right here. And then the second part is like this big container on the left side. So you could configure like if it's reversed or not. That's how you change the order. And then within this smaller container, you then have 16, but technically 15 smaller containers, which contain like all of these things. So this is one of the ways that you can use it. And then it's a really classic example of how grids work in like web pages, which will be really helpful to display information and everything. So you guys could try implementing something like that in the future. Just make sure that your div blocks are probably named like the same one. I call it 444 and 445. You probably want more descriptive names, but this will basically ensure that they look the same, so they have the same like width, and in case you want them to have the same color, that works too. And yeah, it's just a lot of less repeating code. So this is basically how like the majority of our website is built. Just a lot of like grids, a lot of different CSS and HTML files. And yeah, there was one more thing I was going to talk about. Okay, anyways, back to the workshop. Now, if you guys have any questions, now would be the time to ask. So yeah, any final questions about anything in general from like the beginning of the workshop to the end? If you guys have anything, you could either type it in chat or like in the Q&A section, and I'd be really happy to answer any of them. So if you guys have any questions at all, just please type it in the chat, and then yeah, we could go over that together again. just give a few more minutes, and if there are any like last minute questions. Okay, well, seeing as there are no questions, I'd like to thank you guys again for attending this workshop. Hopefully, you guys all had something to take away from it. And yeah.
Yeah, thank you guys, everyone, for attending, for participating in the workshop as well. This was a really great workshop, so thank you as well, Lucy. But other than that, that is it for our workshop. We still have our second one for today, which is at 3 o'clock with Peter. He will be going over designing. He is someone that he's an amazing designer, so I really do recommend you go to his workshop as well. But anyway, we'll end it here. Thank you once again, Lucy, and thank you participants for participating in the workshop. I'll see you guys then. Bye-bye.
Thank you guys.